But I have been, as I mentioned, a freelance writer for the last 25 years. We sold the TV station, sold the other companies I was involved with, and my wife and I both looked at each other and said, well, now what do we do? And she went to be she loved dogs. And so she learned to groom dogs. She learned to breed dogs. She built a career. Now she works with a veterinarian in Norwalk. She shows and breeds dogs, and she did her thing. And I said, well, I've always wanted to write a book, since I actually intended to write the great American novel when I was in high school. That didn't happen. So I wrote a book based on the work that I did as an entrepreneur and as a consultant, and sold that book, and I was off and running. And today I have, I estimate, some 3 million words in print. I've written, I think, 16 or 17 books. It kind of depends on how you count them, and written for a good 35 or 40 national publications of various kinds. I never considered myself much of a poet until I went to a workshop, just kind of on a whim, at Manhattanville College, and did some things. And I said, well, this is kind of interesting. Let me expand on this and let me keep working at it. And then when I turned 69, I had an epiphany. I said, you know, it's time to do something really different. So I began a project that preceded this one called the Journal of My 70th Year. I have copies of the 4 volumes of that over here, all 800 pages, because every day from my 69th birthday to my 70th, I wrote a journal entry, and I created a piece of art or found a photograph that I had taken or did something graphic to produce that work. I will never, ever do anything like that again, trust me, because every day is a lot of days, and that's why it's 800 pages, because every one is, anyway. So what came next was The Visions of a Certain Age, which is graphic poetry, where on the theme of what it felt like to grow older, as I have been, I created some poetry along with artwork and photographs in various forms. And by the way, the process happens as simultaneously as it can happen. It's not writing a poem and then illustrating, and it's not finding a picture and writing a piece of ekphrastic poetry to go with it. Supposedly, I tried to do every one of them at the same time. So anyway, enough of that. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to read a few sections, and I'm going to begin with a poem that kind of sets the theme for the entire book. I am an old child full of wonder at the conjurings of my aged imagination. A deadly daffodil dragon spews clouds of yellow blooms. A swing set beckons with a swooping arc of thrills. A wind-blown pond promises I can skip from wave to wave. I float with butterflies, chasing our sunshine tails above the world of this old child with an aged imagination. And that's the way I look at myself. I'm not an old man. I'm a child in an old man's body. And that's the way life has worked out, and I'm not unhappy with it at all. That led to this book, Visions of a Certain Age. I have to give great credit and thanks to Arts Westchester and to New York State Council of the Arts, who supported the project with a very nice grant that made it possible to produce what is, quite frankly, a fairly expensive book. When you start printing in hardcover in color, it runs up the price. But anyway, they were very kind enough to support me last year with the beginning of this book. Now, the book is divided into 4 sections: life, love, loss, and a 4th that I'll get to a little bit later. They all start with L, by the way, for no good reason other than you're a poet. You do funny things with words and letters as you work in that medium. The first section is about life. And this first piece is, in a way, kind of why I do what I do, which is to write a lot, produce a lot of art, do a lot of different things, because I want to leave my footprint. See my print? I stopped one day to leave my mark on the firmament, I was here. I passed this way. Time was short. I couldn't stay and do everything I meant, but see my print? I stopped one day. My cleated soul impressed the clay until what time I had was spent. I was here. I passed this way. I paused to look, to hear, to pray, to voice a short and sad lament. See my print? I stopped one day until the sky above turned gray and I retreated to my tent. But I was here. I passed this way. Before time washed my marks away, erasing all but this one event. See my print? I stopped one day. I was here. I passed this way. That was a pantoum, I believe is the poetic form, if I remember my lessons correctly. Now, this next piece is actually a prose poem, so I didn't put the entire text up here. And it talks about something based on a real life experience that I had during the holidays when I was preparing this work. And it's called Sit Silent. We gather for our family holiday feast, the young folks and a few oldsters like me. The young family members, the nieces and nephews, and their mates and companions, arrive late in their tasty Teslas, parked behind and blocking in my time-worn Toyota. No one notices when I protest, so I sit silent and watch. At the appointed hour, we sit around the oval table, alternating young couple, old couple, as if our hostess hopes we will connect across the years. The potatoes steam, the succotash gleams. I want to break into grandmother's house we go, but one look around the table at the young eyes glued to their screens tells me that would be a mistake. So I sit silent and watch. The holiday turkey glistens. The son-in-law wields the carving knife with swagger and panache, just the way I used to. I lean forward to critique, but my wife pulls me back before I destroy his glory. She doesn't have to tell me that's not my job anymore, so I sit silent and watch. The oldest niece chatters next to me, fretting over her career path and her arduous struggle up the corporate ladder. I could offer decades of experience, lessons learned, give her a path to starting her own company and building it to multi-million-dollar heights, but that would be boasting. And I know she doesn't want to hear it, so I sit silent and watch. Someone passes me their phone and babbles about an influencer, whatever that is. I stare at the screen without comprehension of its relevance to real life. Then my wife nudges me to pass it along. It was meant for the oldest niece, not me. I twiddle my thumbs while they indulge their tweet and TikTok obsessions. I live in my own world, the real one, as I sit silent and watch. Excuse me. So there's other aspects of life too, especially life as we grow older. One of them does have to do with the way our bodies change and our capabilities change, said the man with the knee brace who just came back from the acupuncturist. This poem is about tools. I need a shovel like I used to have, one that lifts full loads and hurls them aside, one that speeds through a pile without hesitation, without doubt of its ability. My shovel today makes me slow, discouraged, resigned. I fill it only half full before I lift it from the ground. I fear flinging the load, fear losing my grip and seeing the whole damn shovel and load and all go flying from my hands. They should make new shovels for men whose arms have shriveled, whose backs have bowed, whose aches and thigh bones quiver. I need a shovel I can twirl like a baton, slip quick through the pile and fling its load across the sky, a shovel like I used to have. Oh, thank you, Joan. Thanks. So the second section of the book is about love in all of its many facets. because even old people need love and have love and give love. Our lives change as we grow older, and our love lives change as well. This poem is about passion. When Venus danced on the fields of Mars, her blood boiled through our veins. Our throats swelled with the war cries of passion. We clutched, we choked, we kissed, we stroked. We mashed our sweaty faces fast together with unrelenting fervor to satiate our lust. We scalded our hearts, scorched our bony parts, scarred the channels of our reason, imprisoned our moment in breathless torment. We ravished without remorse, regrets aside, talons extended, desire on the edge of pain. Loss of control relapsed, morality collapsed, defeated. Mars waned as Venus tired inevitably. The candle flickered, sputtered, it dimmed, it muttered. The vermilion light faded in the gloaming. Frenzied clutches slowed to clawless paws. No domination, no submission, timeless obsession in recession. Our blazing hair turned ashen, limp sans passion. Years dulled our bite, softened our insistence. Memories of battle cries receded, drowned in the murmurs of placid evenings, energy spent, rectitude and reconciliation. No truth or lies, no complaint, exhausted. When Venus abandoned the field of Mars, we wrote truce, no war, no sores, no score. We adopted everlasting peace. Peace, my love, to unite us, softly touching soft for softness' sake, cleaving side by congenial side, tranquil. Then there's another type of love. This poem, by the way, the young lady in the picture is sort of a granddaughter, goddaughter of mine, I guess. She's a freshman at Juilliard this year, an extraordinarily competent musician, very talented woman. I saw her when she was 4 years old playing the piano with the adults in her recital and showing them all up. But anyway, this poem's not about her. I just love the picture. Where does this music take us, this partita of double stops, this quiet suite of lingering phrases, these minor chords that lead us one to the next on a journey into the air? Clouds roll across our near horizon like arpeggios of the sky that tumble down the scales. Andante and languid on the fingerboard, the music fades to nothing, yet remains. Does our music remain? Or have we lost our place in the score, unable to find the theme that held us together with variations that repeat in the chaconne? Comes now the bump, bump, bump of strings building a simple folk tune. We breathe the counterpoint, hear two lines in fugue, each one an expression, each one an explanation. Two ideas in one space, now ours once again. At last, a duet of strings with double stops where hard chords are left behind and the bow owns the top. As one, we are the bow, rejoicing now as the strings quiver beneath us. Okay. And then there is love with our families, with our children and our grandchildren, the dear sweet things. They've apparently forgotten our telephone number, don't have a clue what our email address is, haven't darkened our driveway for years. Occasionally they text us, probably by mistake. But anyway, this is called socks. When we were old, we'd seen it all. We knew it all, and were never surprised. Empire State Building? Been there. Married and divorced? Done that. Why did the chicken cross the road? Don't tell me, I know the punchline. When we discovered we were old, we stopped trying. What was the point? Our socks fell down around our ankles. Did we care? Our kids stopped calling. No matter. They had nothing to say. Pick up the phone and call them. They don't want our bother. Neither does our pride. When our socks crumpled down, we stopped learning. We stopped striving for anything. When we faded, we only remembered life. We no longer lived it. Until we pull up our socks and pick up our phone and dial the number, who knows? Maybe this time it will be different. We've seen it all and know it all, but we hope to once be surprised. Excuse me, another part of going into a certain age is we lose people. We lose our friends, we lose family. I mean, it happens to us throughout our life, but believe me, it does accelerate once we reach that age. And so I address that in a couple of pieces here. This one is actually the first graphic poem I did, and it was published in the Stoneboat Literary Journal, which encouraged me to say, well, if somebody wanted to read one, they must want more. So I made 40 of them, but you know, I was a little obsessed. This is called Without Them. Like frail wraiths in the wind, both my friends of old were swept away, leaving me alone on the desert's edge. I search the wasted land for new companions in the present day. I find water without succor, shade without relief. I want more. I want what I had, who I had. Brothers beyond blood and kin, jibes and jokes and jocularity, heartaches shared unspoken. They died young, while I did not. Wherever they are now, I am here now. Sun sears me, sear sand surrounds me, idle word games played before no audience, wandering a wilderness without them, enduring a life without them, staggering alone without them, plodding my path without them, incomplete without them, vacant without them, lost without them, without them. I had two good friends that I went to grade school with and stayed in contact with. One lived in San Francisco, one in Kansas City, and I lived in New York. And we talked by telephone probably every day of our lives until they both passed away in a couple of years, within a couple of years of each other, both way too young. And then there is the loss of a loved one. Listen to the silence. What do you hear now that she is gone? Nothing? No. Shh. Listen again, harder. Life is not silent even without her. A breeze brushes the window panes. The door frame breathes. Snow slips on the shingles, sliding to the eaves. The basement boiler rumbles. The refrigerator whispers. A clock clicks its tick-tock. She left a void, not a silence. Your heart still thrums. She is gone, but life will not be silenced. And finally, the fourth section, which is a lagniappe. For those that have never been to New Orleans, a lagniappe is a little something extra. You go to the restaurant, they send you a little, we would call it a amuse-bouche, but in New Orleans, it's a lagniappe. You order a drink, you get a little extra, like they do on the golf course, right? A little extra, that's a lagniappe, a little gift for you. And quite frankly, the fourth section is where all the poems that didn't fit in the first three sections went, and the name just seemed to occur. It seemed right, you know? This piece has a short story behind it, and along with a commercial. on April 27th at Cranberry Lake Preserve, right down Highway 22. This poem and all of its artwork has been installed as a mural in the Nature Center at Cranberry Lake. And on April 27th, we're going to have the official inspired this poem. It's called the Sestina. Okay. There we go. It's called the Sestina of the Quarrymen. And a sestina, by the way, again, is a poetic form, has a lot of repetition. It doesn't rhyme, but has a lot of repetition. Quarrymen walked this ground like me 100 years ago. With dynamite, they cracked the granite hills. With jackhammers, they shaped the stone. With derrick cranes, they loaded rail cars to build the dam a mile from where today I walk. In case you didn't know, Kensico Dam, the stone came from the Cranberry Lake Quarry. 1,000 quarrymen shaped my walk. They did it not for me. Their job was to fill the rail cars with Earth's magma, cooled eons ago and risen to become the stone that formed these ancient rocky hills. The quarrymen laid track through the hills for trains to run where now I walk, trains to carry the blocks of stone and lead a roadbed path for me to trod and follow the long ago line of stone-heaped hopper cars. The quarrymen left the hopper cars to rust away in the weed-grown hills where they rolled 100 years ago. I find them along the path I walk and wonder what they are to me. Was I meant to live and carry stone? If so, what happened to that stone? Was it hauled away in hopper cars to disappear in time like me? 100 years from now, the hills will heal this scar where I walk, the one the quarrymen left long ago. Man made his meager yark years ago. It will disappear, leaving only stone. Turtles will glide and deer will walk where once ran trains of hopper cars. Bog will fill the pond beneath the hills, and none will know the quarryman or me. Walk here 100 years hence, like 100 years ago. You'll find no quarryman or me, but you will see the stone. The dam may fall, the cars rust away, but the hills will endure. So I hope you can join me on April 27th and go take a walk in those hills. Now, this poem, which I can't see all of it, let's see. Anyway, yeah, I can't read the second line. This was inspired determined to climb the stairs. Will I need a twin flame or an oral reading, career consulting or chakra realignment, soulmate reuniting or past life regression, or maybe nothing at all, or all at once? The seer or witch must be good or at least convincing to afford a studio on Lexington Avenue, just one flight above Jamba Juice, where I may stop later to drown my sorrows or celebrate some nuptials recently predicted. In New York, anything is possible. Nothing is easy. The subway grates suck your aura down. You make it there until you don't. Your career consultant orders a move. If your soulmate agrees, you retreat. If not, maybe you regress into a past self. I am a walk-in with no appointment for this examination or this life, only curiosity about the future, the unseen and the unseeable. Inside, the mystical tinkle of tiny symbols accompanies the efficient hum of the credit card machine. And finally, one last piece that kind of expresses what I think is my outlook on life these days. It's pretty short and it's pretty simple. I read, I walk, I seldom talk. A lane meanders past my door. I stay, I stop, I pause to think. My finger lies between the leaves. Lost without thought in the maples, I wander circles in myself. Silence sings me, quiet drapes me. I see but one destination. I never count them. I live my days and read the pages in my book. Thank you.